What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Build a Mind podcast. I'm your host, Trevor, and I'm here with Will, my co-host, and Bryden from Foreman. Foreman is a really cool management software that allows you to manage your Bitcoin mining operation, whether you've got one miner or 1,000. They're really setting the tone for what it means to operate and manage your mine. So Bryden has actually, he's the support engineer for Foreman. He's the lead support engineer, and he basically deals with a lot of support tickets, helping people diagnose and figure out how Foreman works, or the way that it could work with their situation with their mining operation. And I'm really excited because Foreman is a leading maker in the space. I guess I probably said that wrong, but they're leading the way. They're leading the charge and really distinguishing what it means to run different types of software on your farm to allow you to do certain things. And we're going to touch with Bryden to see what those things are, and how you as a pleb miner or an industrial miner can use Foreman to set yourself apart from other miners and really gain a head in the space. So yeah, just really cool stuff. And I'm really excited to get into this episode. Before I do that, I want to introduce you guys to the Mastermind Club. Mastermind Club is the place that you're going to go if you don't know anything about Bitcoin mining, but you're interested to get into it. You want to learn how to build a Bitcoin mine. You want to learn and get the project roadmaps, figure out exactly what it takes to do it. The Mastermind Club is the place that you're going to want to go. The Mastermind Club has an accountability group. We do weekly sessions, and every second Friday of the month, we actually do a deep dive into certain topics like site procurement, contract negotiation. This month in June, we're actually doing the differences between air, immersion, and hydro mining. So there's a lot of cool things that you can learn from the Mastermind Club. And I implore everyone who wants to get into the Bitcoin mining space to join our club, because it's going to, again, just like Foreman, it's going to set you apart from the competitors, from other people in the space, and show you the right way to get into it. So when you join our group, like I said, you're going to gain access to one-on-one session, or like you're going to get access to these accountability groups, the deep dive sessions, but you're also going to get access to industry experts like Scott Offord and the rest of the people on our team. You'll be able to have one-on-one conversations with them. You'll get project roadmaps and way more resources than you can find just searching through the internet. It's going to save you a lot of time, and it's going to give you that opportunity to get into it. So let's help you break ground on your first mining operation. Join our Mastermind Club and come with us. We'll help you do it. All right, guys, we're going to get into the episode. I'm going to bring up Will. And Will, what do you think about Foreman? Have you heard much I'm sure you've heard much about Foreman, but have you ever used Foreman software before?
Yeah, we use it for our stranded gas mine. It's a little tiny mining operation that I have been working on for the past year, almost a year and a half. Honestly, I don't know much about it, so I'm really excited to hear more details from Bryden. I basically use it as a dashboard or monitoring tool for the mine. So we have, anywhere from a dozen to a couple dozen ASICs running at a given time. And I use it to kind of like just see how each unit is performing, the kind of heat that's giving off, the amount of, efficiency that each one's got. But I'm curious how many more things we're not using that we should be using, to be honest. And we just kind of signed on we wanted to get up and running and be able to remotely control the mine, because it's about a 2-hour drive for anyone, from the office that is nearest to the site. It takes a while to get out there. So being able to remotely control things is a huge advantage for our operation. So that's kind of how we use it, but I'm sure we're underutilizing the tool. And honestly, I was just thinking about it. I don't know personally of any competitors to Foreman. So when we were setting up our infrastructure for our little operation, we didn't consider anything else, because I don't even think there's much else out there. I'm sure some of the large publicly traded miners maybe build their own monitoring tools, control panel software and things like that. But those are probably not sold to anyone else. They're for internal use only, I presume. So yeah, I'm really excited to hear from Bryden how right or wrong I am about any of those things I just said.
Yeah. So let's bring him up. We'll get him in this space right now. What's up, Bryden? Welcome to the Build a Mind podcast. We're excited to have you here. Thank you for being here.
What's up, guys? Glad to be here.
So, how long have you worked for Foreman? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah, so I've been here for exactly 18 months. This June, I joined the Foreman team back in January of 2022. I was coming from a player in the Lightning payment space prior to that, so I was pretty involved in Bitcoin, but this was actually my first exposure to the mining side of the Bitcoin network.
Okay. What has that experience been like for you? I mean, obviously you don't want to talk bad about Foreman, but like how have you enjoyed your experience working for Foreman?
Yeah, it's been great. When I joined the team, I was actually the 7th employee, so it was just a really tiny shop that was just in that phase beyond kind of the co-founders and the initial development team. So got a chance to get in really early. The past year, we've been expanding like crazy. We've just been hiring people in all different areas of the business, bolstering the development, as well as our like client-facing side. So we can be a little bit more of use to people with solutions consulting, making sure people are getting just the most out of the platform that they can.
Bryden, I have a question. You originally were working at a Lightning startup prior to working with Foreman. What's it like going from, those are kind of two different worlds in the Bitcoin, like job market, right? So what was it like going from Lightning to Bitcoin mining? What do you like about the, that sort of journey, that step from one to the other?
Yeah, luckily, and my role at both places was pretty customer service focused. So a lot of the activities I was performing were pretty similar, and there was a lot of carryover between the two. Lightning payments is also similar to mining in the sense that the margins are extremely tight. There's not a whole ton of juice to squeeze in either industry. So that just kind of adds to the value prop of software like ours, where we're able to kind of shave those cents anywhere possible to make the difference between being profitable and it's a worthwhile endeavor and a failed venture.
Yeah, in the intro, we kind of crudely described what Foreman does for mining businesses or just, hobby miners, home miners. I think, obviously Foreman can be used for any size operation, but what are some of the, I guess, tell us like the core feature set that most miners look to Foreman to help them solve. And then I have some more questions about kind of, for my own interest, like how am I underutilizing this thing? What can I do to get more out of this tool and maybe
get more of that juice?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, definitely. And that's where I come into play to help people like yourself who are like, I've been a Foreman customer for a couple of months now, and we're rebooting machines, we're changing pools, maybe we're running reports. We're comfortable with those basic things, but there's a lot of tabs on the left-hand side that we're just not going into. So if you see things like the sitemap, you want to create a visual representation of the miners in your farm, and that you don't know how to set that up, we can always help you out there. That's a situation where you'd reach out to somebody like me or on my team. But yeah, cool things like sitemap to visualize your mine, automations to perform remote commands when you're not physically at the screen, hawking that dashboard. And then also like reporting. It's nice to know exactly what's going on at the facility, give others insight if you want to, share visibility to investors, or if you have hosted clients that, you'd like to verify with a third party that they're not being overcharged on consumption. So those are kind of the cool things that our platform enables beyond just remote management.
That's really cool. The automatic, like the subroutines or the automation that can be built in. Can you talk more about some of the common ones that you've seen or that you think are really cool? Because we don't use those. We just, every day we're kind of keeping an eye, like every hour, every 20 minutes, whatever it is, while we're awake, we're checking Foreman just to make sure, okay, how are things running today? Oh, we got one miner down. Well, let's spin it back up. Like I think the automations, I didn't even realize you guys had those, but yeah, those sound powerful. Tell us what are some common use cases with the automation feature and Give me an idea of what I could maybe set up.
Sure. So this time of year, obviously it's June, and regardless of where you are, temperatures are starting to rise, and that can represent some big issues inside the facility. So one of the most common triggers that I'm helping people set up a lot now is one to manage their temperatures. So in our alerts and triggers section, you can basically tell us any situation that you can describe that's like a set criteria where you would perform a manual action to fix it, like a reboot or a factory reset or whatever is necessary. You can say anytime a miner reports that it's a warning for high temperature, whenever that happens, you can automatically sleep the miner, to catch it before it goes into that fail state, which triggers an endless reboot loop, depending on the hardware manufacturer. But what the trigger does is it catches it before it overheats, it puts it into sleep mode, and then you can optionally prescribe a cooldown period. Say you let it cool down for 30 minutes, that gets the boards nice and cool, and then we're going to just automatically power it back up. So this not only saves your hardware, but it also maximizes your hash time, because otherwise those machines fail. Someone's got to go back in, click on them all, reboot them, or even worse than that, be at the facility and unplug and replug stuff.
That's huge. Our facility is located in very rural southern Wyoming, and so very cold, brutal winters, very hot and dry summers, and a lot of dust at times too. There's not a lot of rain, but there can be some big storms at times as well. So there's temperature fluctuations. I mean, there can be 30-degree temperature fluctuations within 24 hours. So I think this will come definitely in handy this summer. We weren't running any miners last summer. We were still I think we started running miners at the end of September of last year. So after finally building out the site. So yeah, that's going to be very useful for us. We may need to talk offline more about how I can set that up with my team. But yeah, that's what are some of the weirdest automations that you may have come across in your support journey supporting these miners? Like, I'm curious.
Oh boy. Yeah, they can get pretty in the weeds. You can add multiple conditions to our triggers, and you can also add exclusion criteria. So 80% of triggers I see are just basically miner reports this error. We're going to automate this action to hopefully fix that as our first troubleshooting pass. But sometimes I'll look at clients' instances where they're having multiple and conditions, but they're excluding this very specific thing. And I'm like, wow, I would love to talk to you to get the backstory of what this is accomplishing. But yeah, so a lot of people do some crazy things with client assignment. If you're a big hosting facility, you can have a trigger that prescribes an IP range that you assign to a hosting client. And then anytime a miner gets plugged in, it automatically gets assigned to that hosting client. So you don't have to do any kind of manual intervention there. And then a lot of our customers offer instant hosting marketplaces. So you can pay an invoice, Bitcoin or Lightning, and then instantly that miner on the back end through our API gets assigned over to your account with the hosting provider.
That's wow. There's a lot. It seems like Foreman has a lot of different things that it can do to help miners in various positions, whether they're starting out or whether they've been running for a long time. It's really cool that what you guys are doing there, honestly. Go ahead. Were you going to say something?
No, I was just going to say, I wondered, we didn't explore using any other similar tools, right? I didn't even know of any others. So the competition doesn't seem to be there. And you guys I was impressed with the tool right away when we set it up. And I was like, man, there's a lot to get into here. I don't know how we're going to use it all. And of course, you're running your business, you're running other businesses. So you don't really dive into that stuff until you're able to hire someone to maybe look into it for you.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you, Bryden, what is one of the biggest challenges that you see most miners are facing?
One of the biggest challenges I see miners facing is on the power strategy side of things. If you're an enterprise level miner, you have opportunities to earn revenue beyond just the core mining activities, and those can be, act as hedges against the core mining activities in periods of downturn, but also they can be pretty lucrative too. So seeing miners maybe not necessarily know what revenue programs are available to them that they might be able to register their, large flexible electrical load with. So that's another thing we can help with on the power strategies consulting. We actually have a full department that can help you get enrolled in programs, and then we can actually automate your full demand response participation so you can earn money on top of just Bitcoin mining.
Yeah, demand response is one of the biggest things that I see as like beneficial to the grid system as a whole, being able to shut down and turn back on, and you're basically helping miners to automate that process.
Yeah, exactly. And what's really cool to me about like demand response is it's another, you may or may not ascribe to, like ESG stuff, but grid stability is definitely big, and it's a good talking point to have in your tool belt if people are trying to fudge you about Bitcoin mining or electricity usage. Being able to speak to the demand response portion is a great option to be like, hey, this is how we utilize green energy. This is how we support the electrical grid. This is how we, maybe even bring you on bill savings for you as a residential consumer.
Yeah, I use demand response as a way to orange pill mining into people's minds in their heads, because everybody is so quote unquote worried about the energy usage, and it's like, well, no, like Bitcoin miners are building up the energy grid, and then on top of that they're able to stabilize the grid by shutting off when people actually need to use that power. So you can't tell me that it's not ESG. You can't tell me that it's not building up the grids, because it's there's use cases, there's actual proven cases of it. The first time I heard about it was, I think it was like 2 summers ago, when Texas had that huge heat wave in when Riot was dealing with the huge heat wave in Texas, and they were asked to shut down by ERCOT, and they actually got paid more from ERCOT to shut down their miners than they would have been if they were mining Bitcoin themselves. So I mean, there's a huge use case there, and you're just helping to automate that.
Yeah. And that's just the on-grid side of things too. As Will mentioned, flare gas mitigation is another huge positive use case for Bitcoin mining. It's literally monetizing just wasted energy and wasted gas that's just being discharged into, the atmosphere.
Yeah, I love that talking point as well. I mean, I highlight it all the time. We are dealing with, government bureaucracies and getting certain applications approved for right-of-way access to other well sites that are on, Bureau of Land Management owned land, government land and things like that. And so educating some of those folks in those bureaucracies about the promise of Bitcoin mining, like, hey, you guys charge these oil and gas producers all this money for, their vented gas and their flared gas that you don't like because it's bad for the environment, which it is. But you also are acting like you don't like us, and you think like we're producing some emissions. We're not. We're reducing the emissions, and it's this perfect marriage, and you haven't thought about it in the right way yet. Let me teach you, and so I love kind of going into that talking point with those folks, because it turns on light bulbs, and it's a really encouraging kind of part of my day when I get to have those conversations, because I get to see it's a small little dose of an orange pill, microdose of an orange pill, right? For some of these folks who they may not adopt Bitcoin, but they now know more about Bitcoin's benefits, right? So that's amazing for the industry as a whole, as it grows up, that these people gain a little bit more appeal and less kind of revulsion or aversion to the Bitcoin mining space as a whole. So yeah, Bryden, I think, at the risk of turning this into like a sales interview, I'm just curious about lots of features, right? I think the audience is too, but and we'll give you a chance at the end to kind of plug places where people can go to learn about features. But I think, I can tell the Foreman software does a ton of stuff that I'm not using yet. And just maybe besides the automation triggers for heat that I can use in the summer in our remote location, can you share maybe some other features that I'm not thinking about, or that maybe a flare gas mitigation type mining operation would be interested in using for my own edification and education, but maybe even our audience will get a kick out of that?
Yeah, absolutely. So one thing I can touch on is beyond just like the core management features that the Foreman platform enables, we're actually spending a lot of time kind of bolstering the full facility-wide management aspect of the platform too. So things beyond just like the core ASIC activity. So if you have like external devices related to mining that you'd like to maybe see the stats displayed from on your dashboard. So if you have things like smart PDUs or managed network switches, you can add those through our infrastructure tab. And then on your dashboard, you can get the external device stats displayed alongside your mining metrics.
That's amazing. So what about, like you mentioned network. So we have like, we have a fail safe. We have two networks in case one goes down, right? We can stay up. So we use, I think, some software that came with some of those units that we purchased to kind of manage that switching and automate that. But so I can use that. I can use Foreman to do that as well.
So you guys have like a fiber network and then like a redundant.
We
like
actually use,
or...
yes, we actually use Starlink as our primary, and then a cellular network, which is strangely quite strong in this rural area, as our backup.
Interesting. Yeah, that's very cool. Yeah, so in that instance where you have two networks and there might be a failover instance, we can configure a pickaxe for you on our side. It's usually a VM cluster where it kind of automates the failover and migration of the pickaxe, between those two networks in the event of an outage. But that's definitely a scenario that we can help you on. Just requires like a little hands-on assistance from our team.
That's huge. Yeah, that's we gotta figure out how to set that up.
Yeah, happy to help you out with that at any time.
For sure. I like to ask some of these kinds of questions too about you just and your journey, like, and just kind of the way you see the mining landscape coming from like the payments side of things with the Lightning company that you worked with previously, and then kind of diving into mining like over a year ago. What do you see as maybe the biggest challenges for people who are trying to get into mining?
Yeah, it starts with just one miner, whether that be something that you're running at home in a spare outlet or a miner at a hosting facility that has a low minimum order quantity. But the main two barriers to me I can think of is location and cost. Not everybody has a suitable outlet or suitable noise environment to just be ripping ASICs at home, so that can certainly come into play. There's a lot of cool DIY applications to build your own sound mitigation. If you're kind of an industrious individual who's interested in tinkering. And then the other is just kind of startup capital. Depending on what gen ASICs you're buying, they can be expensive. But the way I usually typically recommend people, if you want to mine at home, just go on eBay and buy one of those pre-configured S9s that come with the 120 volt power supply and brains pre-installed, and you can pretty much run that in a dorm room if you so desire.
That's actually how I got started mining, and I've told this story before, but nice. I bought a used S9 off of Amazon, and I had to put brains on it myself, and that's kind of what got me diving down the road of like firmware and software and stuff like that. And I was actually confused because I thought Foreman was a different type of firmware, and then I was quickly told that it's different, and so now I'm starting to learn that there's a difference between software, firmware, hardware, all of those things. So I'm jumping down that rabbit hole. So what does it cost to run Foreman? And then as a secondary question to that, who are your competitors and what sets you apart from them?
Yeah, sure. So we have a couple of different tiers on our plan offerings. The first one is our free tier, and that's geared towards your hobbyist home miner. That's free for up to 25 devices. It's a slightly more limited feature set as compared to our standard offering. So you're going to miss things like the sitemap visibility, the reporting, and some of the power controls features, but you're going to still get the bare bones remote management and monitoring features. And that's going to be kind of on par competing with like your free software that comes with the devices. So like your Ant Sentry, What's Miner tool, BTC tools, similar. So that's kind of the offering that competes with like the included software. But our competitors at kind of the enterprise level, our main competitors actually in-house developed software by some of these larger facilities. A lot of large enterprise facilities can have teams of developers that can really develop custom software solutions for their maybe specific mining needs. So kind of how we propose Foreman as a competing value prop, we basically take the cost of our software for a year if you were an enterprise client, and then compare that against the salary of one or multiple developers that it takes to build and maintain your own in-house solution. And most of the time our value prop comes out on top, and we're pretty confident in that as well.
So what do you think are some reasons that some of these large enterprises, maybe the publicly traded miners, why do they opt for kind of, cooking in their own kitchen with building their own control panel, monitoring tools, instead of, just kind of outsourcing that to a company that seems to have it all figured out?
Yeah, I guess when you're a publicly traded company, your vertical integration is kind of the name of the game. So if you're really pursuing that kind of strategy, you're looking to just silo out all third-party softwares in your stack, maybe that kind of makes that make or buy decision, the make every single time.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry, Trevor. I wanted to interject with that question. I think putting ourselves in the other guy's shoes is interesting sometimes, because it's the vertical integration is important, but you guys, specialization is important too, and specialization creates efficiencies for a lot of these large companies and could save them some money, maybe even, as you said, when you compare the value props of their own in-house solution compared to yours. At least it sounds like you guys see that you guys come out on top with that. Continue, Trevor, with some of your other thoughts.
Yeah, I was just kind of curious, why don't you see other companies, developing software like yours? I mean, Foreman is the biggest name in this kind of management software, and you don't see like other companies coming up in the space. So do you have any ideas why that might be?
Yeah, they're certainly out there, and definitely in the last year and a half or so, we've seen different kind of smaller management companies start to pop up, mostly based out of Europe. So maybe that's why they're not as prevalent in the States, but there are definitely some smaller, for fee software services that are kind of competing for business in the management space now.
I got you. It's just because they're overseas, we don't really see them over here in our neck of the woods. And Foreman is the best. I've heard nothing but good things about Foreman. I mean, ever since I started in the space a few months ago. I know it's not been very long, but I mean, I hear Foreman almost on a daily basis in the group chats that I'm in and on Twitter, all these things. Like, Foreman is the best. So
well, that's great. I'm glad to hear that. We certainly try to do our best for you guys. So any positive feedback always puts a smile on my face.
So we have a conference coming up at the end of this year in September, and you guys are actually going to be at the conference. And now, before I let you talk about that, I'm gonna do my thing. So let's get into that real fast. What is up, everybody? Look, I want to tell you guys about the mining conference in Brainerd, Minnesota this September 27th through the 29th. This is going to be your guys' opportunity to come and meet with us, miners of all different sizes, industry experts, speakers from all different walks of life, and builders in the Bitcoin mining space. When you want to find out what the next step is or where you need to go in order to build your Bitcoin mine, the best place to go is to talk to other miners in the space. And the mining conference by Scott's Crypto Mining is the place to be. So come with us to Brainerd, Minnesota this fall, learn what you can learn, network with great people, gain invaluable experience, and really set yourself apart from other people in the Bitcoin mining space. And that's not all that's going to be at Brainerd. At Brainerd, we are actually doing a one-day, very, very top-notch in-person boot camp that's kind of a play on our 3-day boot camp, but you can get it for literally a fraction of the cost of our Build a Mine boot camps that we normally put on. So come to Brainerd, get your tickets now. Right now, they're discounted prices every single month. They're going up. So get your tickets now to really lock in a good price. Come see us, come say hi to me and Will, and we can't wait to see you there. All right, we're back. Bryden, I want you to kind of just explain what you guys are going to be doing. What is your role at Foreman when you come to the mining conference? What can people expect to see from you guys there?
Yeah, so the Foreman team will be at the mining conference. I believe we're going to do a booth. So typically at these kind of conferences, if we're doing a booth, we'll have a couple of TVs set up where we do live demos, answer any questions new customers, existing customers, might have. It's a great opportunity for us to just shake hands, see what you look like in person, just see how we can best assist you in your mining journey at any stage that is.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to it. I think conferences are one of the best places to go and meet people and understand the experience and what it's like. So, having people such as yourself there is going to be a great opportunity for people.
Yeah, if people want to check out the conference, go to theminingconference.com, check it out. You can reach out to us there, buy tickets there, see who's already confirmed to speak and already confirmed to exhibit, like, Foreman and other companies as well. So theminingconference.com is the website. Go check it out.
Yeah, one thing I might just add on the conference front is just personally for me, that was so valuable when I was younger, out of college. I knew I wanted to work in Bitcoin. I just went to a conference, grabbed a student ticket just to walk around, talk to people at tables, see where the industry is moving, what kind of roles might be available to somebody like me coming from a non-Bitcoin industry. So definitely recommend, if you're even on the fence, go. You're going to have a great time at any Bitcoin event. So
yeah, that brings up something interesting for me too. Like, again, like, I love encouraging young people to get into the space, and people talk about conferences being a great way to get into the space. Some of them have a high barrier cost entry for some of the tickets, but again, it's really worth the money in almost every case. Just like you were saying, Bryden, maybe you can share more about your experience, how Bitcoin showed up for you in your life. I'm assuming while you're younger and in school still, and then just you get that inspiration, you dive right in, and one of your first choices, as you said, was to attend a conference. So tell us that story of like how your journey progressed to employment in the space.
Yeah, so late 2017, I graduated from college, got my first salary job. I don't actually remember how I got the Bitcoin bug. I think it was probably peak of Bitcoin mania at the time. So I was just stacking in my Coinbase account. I think I probably ended up selling that for some meager gains along the way, and then got really serious again in Bitcoin kind of when that stimulus check came out again in 2020. And that was the point where I was like, I am wasting my life just doing fiat jobs for things I don't really care that much about. I'm going to do whatever is necessary to combine passion with, employment and work in Bitcoin somehow.
So you took yourself to a mining or to a conference. What conference was that? And when, and then some other things outside of conference attendance that spurred you on and got you closer to seeking employment in the space?
Yeah, so this is actually the main Bitcoin conference down in Miami when it was still held in South Beach. And while I didn't actually get a job directly from that conference, I got hooked up with the job board that I eventually found the Foreman job posting on a couple of years later that, ended up getting the job. So that was kind of cool.
And what else besides attending a conference, getting on a job board, do you think people can do if they're interested to find jobs in the industry?
Yeah, first and foremost, try to meet your favorite influencer. If there's somebody on Twitter that posts charts that really speak to you, or maybe has commentary, more often than not, that person's going to be at the conference, and as long as you're respectful, they'll probably have a conversation with you. So it's cool to just be in the mix.
That gives me hope, because for me it was Preston Pish, and I'm going to the Bitcoin conference this year. I know Preston Pish is going to be there, and I am hoping, like beyond hope, that I get the opportunity to just speak with him for just a little bit. So it's really cool that you say that just meet your heroes in Bitcoin, I guess is what I would say.
People often say don't meet your heroes because they're such a letdown in all walks of life, and including in the Bitcoin space. It can be true as well. But I totally agree for the reasons that Trevor and Bryden mentioned. Like, go meet them. If you're disappointed, so what? It's informative. That's a good lesson to learn too. But again, they can connect you. You can strike up friendships. It's a great way to network for sure. And it also kind of helps your networking skills grow as well. So I think that's a great idea. Definitely go meet your heroes for the learning experience and potential benefits.
Yeah, there's good times to be had beyond just the conference hall as well. There's happy hours, there's parties to go to, there's many of opportunities. Most days at conferences start around 7 o'clock for me and don't pull into the station until, well after 11 most nights. So it's full days of excitement.
Oh yeah, for sure. So let's move on a little bit from conferences. I think we've talked about it enough. I want to hear about some of your opinions, Bryden. Yeah. So other than like buying Bitcoin, going to the very beginning of when you got into Bitcoin, got into working for Foreman, what are some other things that you might have done differently to find that position, or to find a job in the Bitcoin space, or just to, stack harder, I guess?
Yeah, for me, I wish I had gotten involved with mining on my own a little bit sooner. It was kind of a couple of months into my Foreman journey where I was speaking with a lot of customers and talking a lot of mining, but I didn't actually have any hands-on experience to kind of speak to. So that was my main motivation to get off zero, grab a ASIC at a hosting marketplace, and I've been adding a couple of machines per month. So just getting started sooner would have been the biggest thing I probably would change if I could.
Yeah, that speaks to a lot of people out there. Everybody kind of looks back on their history and they wish, oh man, I wish I could have stacked more. I wish I would have put more money into it because I would have so much more. It's just like, you get the position that you deserve because based on your knowledge where you're at in the space. And I think that people shouldn't hang up too much on like past and what could have, should have, and would have, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But to the people who are listening to this and haven't started Bitcoin mining, or you haven't gotten into the space, like what are you doing? What are you doing? There's so many things that you can do to really get your feet wet. I mean, we just spoke with Scott from BitAxe, and he's developing a product, or has developed a product that's open source that allows you to get into Bitcoin mining at a fraction of the cost. So what are you doing? And I think that's just important to really get that message out there. We need to decentralize the space and get more miners, more plebs out there mining Bitcoin.
Yeah, participate however you can. That's a great point. It doesn't even have to be an ASIC in your garage competing for the outlet with the dryer. It can be a BitAxe or a USB miner.
Absolutely.
So Bryden, go ahead, Trevor. You can go.
I was just gonna say, like, for the people who want to, plug it into the back of their dryer, or they have the capability of adding a 220 watt plug or whatever, like that's always a great option. But like Bryden said, just tinker, mess around with it. There's definitely ways that you can do it. And reach out to us, because I'd love to, kind of guide you on some of the things that I've been working on. Personally, I can't wait, because today I get my Loki board, which is a board that allows me to dismantle an S19, use a power supply from an S9, and go from 220 volt down to 120 volt and plug it into the wall. So, I mean, there's ways to do it.
That's awesome. Yeah. Bryden, your journey is interesting, right? A lot of people your age are being inspired to kind of be involved with Bitcoin on some level, even as much as like getting employed in the space. I'm curious, like what sort of pushback or caution, or how do your friends and family look at working in the Bitcoin world? And when you expressed that interest, early on before you actually landed jobs in the space, did they think you were crazy? Like what was that like?
It's actually kind of funny. My grandparents still live in New York and I live down in Florida, so I only get to see them maybe once or twice a year at this point. But I'm almost 100% sure that they believe I work in commodities at this point, like, like actual ore extraction. And that's what kind of mining I do. But, other than that, you always get the little comments when the price is down or a CNBC hit piece comes out, here and there. But my parents at least have a little Bitcoin exposure that kind of got forced through by me. So if you're in my aura, you pretty much have an obligatory stack of some kind.
Attaboy.
Want to hear about it?
Yeah, I definitely have people in my life in those situations where I feel like I've dragged them into Bitcoin kicking and screaming, and I like if I have to, I will buy your Bitcoin for you. Just like I will store it for you, but just for the love of God, hold some Bitcoin.
Yeah, I actually got my first "You were right" text a couple of weeks ago too, when we hit 70K for the first time.
Hey, congrats, brother!
Those are
Congrats! It's like a rite of passage right there.
I know. The only thing that made it not so sweet, it was I should have listened. You were right instead of thanks. You were right.
Well, you can't win them all.
Yeah,
everybody gets Bitcoin at the price they deserve and when they're ready for it. So it's tough work as an evangelist, trying to help people out with this tool, but they come to it when they come to it.
Exactly.
So let's see here. I want to ask you, how do you personally feel about the relationship between things like Bitcoin, Web3 development? I've actually heard it called Web5. We had John West talk about that and all that good stuff. But where do you think the space is heading with those relationships between altcoins, Web3, Bitcoin? Like, what are your opinions, your thoughts? Take some time. We'll give it a bit.
Yeah, I'm personally a Bitcoin maximalist, so I'm not interested in, mining or procuring any kind of altcoins outside of Bitcoin. To me, that kind of, in my opinion, airs on like the technology, blockchain technology side of things. Not a whole ton of value in that to me. However, people do have quite a bit of success mining altcoins. So proof of work altcoins can be a profitable endeavor for you. But on the other side of that, a lot of those charts don't look promising, long term. So the relevant cycles on those are, much shorter. But as Bitcoin goes up, the rising tide kind of raises all boats. So you're going to see all those other kind of Web3 stuff. That noise is going to get louder as, Bitcoin continues to expand its network effect as well.
So Web3 is often thought of as separate from Bitcoin because Bitcoin is like dumb and slow and only does one thing. And, what are your opinions on how Bitcoin as a network is able to kind of capitalize on some of that Web3 narrative or the direction that Bitcoin development is heading or network growth is heading, being able to kind of subsume some of that Web3 narrative? Any thoughts on that?
I think there might be a little bit of scope creep. Maybe some people have the desire for, the Bitcoin network to kind of serve some of those functions that Ethereum and other kind of proof of stake blockchain serves right now when it comes to things like decentralized finance applications and NFTs and stuff, that maybe people are, trying to get onto the Bitcoin network, given that it is obviously the most secure and robust network, that there is right now. But I don't know, to be honest with you. I'm kind of indifferent. I like, as a miner, when the fees spike, when those kind of things go on, but I don't know if it's necessarily necessary to the true value prop of Bitcoin as a, decentralized permissionless ledger.
Yeah.
Whether we like it or not, it's probably gonna happen one way or another. Where people can. The beauty of Bitcoin is it's open and permissionless, so people can use it for the things it can do, whether other people like it or not, right? So yeah, we're gonna see. You can call it scope creep, and I kind of tend to agree with that. But of course, also, if Bitcoin's capable of doing it, people are going to experiment with it, and so it'll be interesting to see. I think that this cycle, we're going to start to see more of that. Scope creep, as you called it, or just people finding various, non-traditional applications for the Bitcoin network that, maybe some of these other blockchains start to fail in those use cases and Bitcoin may begin to excel in those. And so it will be a home for that innovation.
Yeah, exactly. It is kind of cool to see these applications that were just unheard of, just a few months ago, and now they're seemingly dominating all the headlines. What can Bitcoin be used for? What should it be used for? Is it to those people that can't move 1 million sats on the base layer for less than $100 in fees during those high fee periods? Like, what do you do about that? But there's a lot of good questions being asked.
Yeah, I think that, as we get more people into the Bitcoin space, we get more people thinking about the solutions to those problems. I'm not smart enough to come up with answers to those solutions. I know what Bitcoin does for me as a home pleb miner. I know what I can do with heat reuse and all those things and how it makes it better. But looking towards the future, it's like I don't know what's going to happen when fees are super high and you're not able to transact on the main chain. And maybe that's where things like eCash and Fedimints come in. And I'm not smart enough to touch on those, so I don't really want to speak out the side of my ear here. But at the end of the day, I think that the more people that we bring into the space, the more educated, well-spoken people that can come in and help educate more and more and develop products and services around those solutions will just be what we need, what will happen and what we need. And that's kind of where this podcast comes in, is like, we want to help people understand how mining works and why they should mine. You kind of touched on it a little bit, so I want to ask you, like, what has your mining journey been like? Like, where are you at with your mining journey? Like, maybe how many rigs do you run? Like, what has that been like for you?
Yeah, so I started off with just a single rig purchase. I bought a S19 about a year ago at this point. I think I set up a little LLC just to kind of keep my mining stuff nice and clean and separate from kind of other Bitcoin stacks I had going on. Just from a tax standpoint, that also was a little more advantageous. But starting with my LLC with one miner, I've just been adding 1 and 2 rigs at a couple different hosting facilities, differentiated between a couple different hosting providers. So I've got 10 total rigs online right now.
Oh, that's awesome. How long is it taking you to get those 10, just when you first got into Bitcoin, or was there a period between finding Bitcoin and then starting to mine Bitcoin?
Yeah, so I didn't actually start mining until I was at Foreman. I'd been stacking Bitcoin for a couple of years before I was even really interested in the mining side of things.
Gotcha.
I have a quick question on that. How have you seen the advantages? Like, what are your personal views on the advantages of mining Bitcoin versus stacking sats, right? You often hear the trade-off of, should I invest into Bitcoin mining and then try to, stack a bunch of sats, or maybe I would just outperform investing in Bitcoin through mining by just buying spot Bitcoin. And you've done both. So tell us how that's worked out for you.
Yeah, there's definitely going to be the right decision in hindsight at any particular period where you chose to buy a rig. But the cool thing about having rigs online is you don't benefit from those big spikes in hash price when there's things like ordinals explosions or the runes protocol minting or whatever. If you're going to reap the rewards from those, you got to have machines online and hashing. The time to procure rigs is not when fees are exploding and you're kind of FOMOing in. So you got to have a little bit of foresight. If my personal philosophy is, if Bitcoin's down, that means rig prices are also going to go down. So it makes it really tough to determine, do I add a big stack or do I plug in another ASIC here? But yeah, to answer your question, I guess I don't really have great guidance.
No, that's cool. I mean, it seems like both are working for you. You found, cost-effective ways to stack sats in multiple ways. And that's what everyone should be doing, accepting Bitcoin for work you do or for goods you sell. Obviously, if mining makes sense to you and you're curious about that and you can find a cost-effective way to do what Bryden did with like hosting and co-locating miners, or even building your own mine, which is what we like to help people figure out how to do. But I'm glad that both of those things seem to have been working well for you. Sometimes people are bitter about one or the other, and you're just still doing both. So that's a great sign. Yeah, I guess I want to know, as a young person who just started working in the space, your entire professional career, it sounds like, since college has been in the Bitcoin industry, which is kind of rare. A lot of times people will have to go find, a fiat mining job or a normie job, as people kind of refer to them sometimes. But you just dove right into Bitcoin, and that takes guts. It takes a lot of determination. It takes a lot of kind of self-starting. And so just take a moment and talk to folks that are in your peer group, your age group, about if they're curious about this, how they can make it work for them.
Yeah, sure. And I'm probably I look a little bit younger than I actually am. I'm almost 29. So I had 4 years of non-Bitcoin salary work before I was able to break into the Bitcoin space. But if I could save anybody the time of kind of wasting your efforts in fiat capacity that you're maybe not enthused about, just do whatever it takes to get that first Bitcoin job, even if it's not necessarily a role that's in your wheelhouse. If it's, the description asks for skills that you have, more often than not, you're probably going to get a chance to show what you can do if you show the initiative and demonstrate a Bitcoin interest.
Absolutely. I'm a very passionate person. And when I don't feel that passion and I don't have that pride in what I'm doing, it's really hard for me to continue to do that thing. And I feel like it's been like that for me in a lot of different regions that I've worked in. I've worked in a lot of different places. I've been a car mechanic. I've been an automotive painter. I've, done construction for the last 3 years, and nothing has given me that bug, that itch to scratch like Bitcoin. And when I was able to finally get a job in Bitcoin, I was like, let's go full bore. I'm all in. What do you want me to do? Tell me how to do this. I don't care if I'm writing documents. I don't care if I'm doing I love the podcast. This is where I'm meant to be. But at first it wasn't a podcast, and it was just, administrative work. And I was perfectly happy to be here because I was working in Bitcoin in one way, shape, or form. And I implore everyone to do that. Find your passion, because Bitcoin will touch every industry that has ever been created in some way, shape, or form. So find what you're passionate about and just drive yourself forward, and make sure that you're pushing and not not holding back when you feel that you need to really say something and do something. Just be that guiding force in your own life.
Yeah, that's great advice.
Yeah. So I got one last question for you, Bryden. It's really a philosophical question, and I'd like to see where you take it. So I'll give you a little bit of time to answer this. But what does Bitcoin mean to you?
Ooh, that's a great question. To kind of use a cliche here, it kind of represents the escape hatch of the late stage dying fiat empire. As a kind of younger millennial, I'm at the point in my life where owning that first home is like the big goal that's like just over my head every day. And interest rates have remained high. Obviously, the fiat money supply increases every day. Most of that kind of attracts itself to the real estate market. So prices just keep increasing. And I just kind of view Bitcoin as the kind of sanity in that market. There's a great chart that you see every once in a while of the average home price denominated in Bitcoin versus fiat. And
Yes.
It's two, diverging trend lines. So if you're stacking in Bitcoin, that's kind of my main vehicle towards eventually, buying that piece of real estate, is just preserving the value that I'm putting away and not having it destroyed by inflationary policies over a kind of a long time frame.
Yeah, absolutely. I was actually having a conversation with somebody yesterday about this, and there's a huge wave in Bitcoin. It's like hodl, and I agree with that to some extent. The newbies really need to hodl and hold their Bitcoin, hold on for dear life. Don't sell it for anything stupid. But at the end of the day, if you only ever hold your Bitcoin, what is it doing for you? You know what I mean? What is it? What value is it bringing to your life other than just sitting on your Bitcoin wallet? It's not. So my idea is, and I was talking with this gentleman, it's like, hey, you go out, you build this stack, you build this reserve, and then you apply that in an area of your life that is going to better your situation. And whether it's a home, whether it's another asset that can, accrue value in another way, like that's what Bitcoin is meant. Like, we don't need Bitcoin for Bitcoin's sake. We need Bitcoin so that we have a better money to transact with the world. So I love what you said there, Bryden. thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, we did talk about conferences earlier in the show, and of course you are going to be at the mining conference in September in Minnesota with us, and we're thrilled to have you. We're thrilled to have Foreman be there. One thing we do for all of our guests, and we'll do it for you as well, even though you'll be there already, we know that's great. But we want to give some conference tickets to you to kind of give away to some people in your community, maybe your own personal or professional network, and
Okay,
bring
cool.
some people with you. They don't have to necessarily be, at Foreman, because I'm sure there's a team that is going to be coming to the show, which is great. We're excited to meet other members of your team and share what you do with the community there. But yeah, we want to give you 2 tickets to the mining conference from September 27th to September 29th in Brainerd, Minnesota. As Trevor mentioned earlier, it's a very family-friendly location. It's kind of a remote-ish location, a little bit of a drive from the Twin Cities, but we chose it because there's a mine nearby and there's a lot of activities nearby, family-friendly activities that we're going to engage in. So please, maybe those friends and relatives that you've been orange pilling should come with you. And so we're going to give you 2 tickets, or maybe just random strangers will reach out to you on social media, or, people who at any events you go to in Florida where you live that relate to Bitcoin might be interested. So Bryden's got 2 tickets, everybody. So hit him up.
Hit 'em up.
If you want to join him at the conference that we're going to have in Minnesota this fall. It's a beautiful time of year to be in that location as well. So it's the loons sing at night and it's pretty beautiful. But yeah, it's a gift we give to our guests. We love to do that. And we just want to meet everyone that we've talked to if we can, if it's available in their schedule to make it. So thank you, Bryden, for already taking the plunge with Foreman to be there. And then we give you a job to kind of give away 2 more tickets. So thank you.
Welcome to working in Bitcoin. We always hand out work.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for the generosity. I won't sing the Eddie Money song, but I've got 2 tickets to Brainerd, Minnesota. If anybody wants to, reach out if you're interested in going to the event.
It's a different kind of paradise than paradise. You live in a paradise in Florida, but I'll be honest, the lake country in Minnesota is a different kind of paradise. And if you haven't been and you got the Bitcoin bug and the mining bug, it's a great time to see that part of the country. So hopefully the folks out there will take us up on it and go to theminingconference.com and check it out.
Bryden, I'd like to give you a shot to, plug anything that you're working on other than Foreman. Tell the plebs and the people where they can find you, and just give a shout out.
Yeah, sure. So if you're interested in finding out more about Foreman, our website is foreman.mn. We've got a great live demo on the website where you can play with the feature set if you want to pretend to be a enterprise level miner for a little bit, see if that might be applicable to your needs. But if you want to get in touch with me personally, I'm not hugely active on, Twitter or even Nostr, but I am on there. I think I'm at 21 Bryden on each platform if you want to shoot me a DM. Otherwise, feel free to just send me an email. bkutz@obm.mn is my email address. Happy to talk to you guys about anything that you might be interested in.
Yeah, we'll definitely put the contact infos in our show notes. And I'm personally going to be reaching out to you to kind of get some new strategies and how I can fully leverage, Foreman for our mine. I know we're underutilizing it and it's a powerful tool. So excited to speak with you further in the near future about ways I can supercharge how I'm using it.
Yeah, let's do it. We'll get you dialed in.
Great.
Awesome. Well, guys, this has been the Build a Mine podcast, and we were, thankful and grateful for you guys listening. If you liked this episode, please like, comment, subscribe. We're always looking for feedback, and we're always just trying to grow our audience. Find us on Fountain, on any other sharing platform, but especially Fountain, because if you send us some sats, if you make a comment, like, subscribe over there, I'll make sure you get some sats in return. So with that, this has been the podcast. We'll see you next time.
Please note, the Build a Mind podcast provides information for general educational purposes only. This information should not be construed as legal, financial, or investment advice. We do not guarantee the accuracy or completeness of any information presented, and we encourage you to consult with a professional advisor, legal advisor, and/or financial advisor before making any financial decisions. The Build a Mind podcast and its affiliates are not responsible for any losses incurred as a result of using the information provided.